Welcome, my friends, to another journey through the annals of our past. Tonight, we embark on an exploration of a list that has captivated humanity for millennia, the Seven Wonders of the ancient world. These were monuments so grand, so ambitious, so utterly breathtaking. They pushed the very boundaries of what humans believe possible. But what exactly were they? Who built them and why? And how did a select few of these architectural giants earn their place in eternity, while others simply vanished? Settle in, perhaps with a warm drink, as we unravel the stories of engineering marvels, fleeting grandeur, and the whispers of history. Don't forget to like, share, and comment if you enjoy this deep dive. Let the history wash over you. Good evening, my friends. Or perhaps good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever and whenever you might be listening to this. I appreciate you carving out this time with me, whether you're unwinding after a long day, or seeking focus amidst the chaos, or simply looking for a soothing companion to your tasks. Tonight, we're embarking on a journey, not to a single destination, but to a collection of them, a constellation of human ambition, ingenuity, and ultimately, the fleeting nature of even the grandest designs. We're talking about the Seven Wonders of the ancient world. Now, for many of us, this list conjures up images of towering pyramids, magnificent statues, and impossible gardens. It's a list etched into the collective consciousness, a testament to what humanity could achieve millennia ago. But have you ever truly paused to consider how this list came to be? Who decided what was wonderful enough to make the cut? And what criteria did they use? The answers, as with so many things in history, are far more nuanced, more human, and frankly, a good deal messier than the neat, ordered list we've come to accept. To understand the genesis of these wonders, we first need to transport ourselves back to a very specific period, the Hellenistic era. Imagine the world in the wake of Alexander the Great. His whirlwind conquests in the 4th century BC didn't just redraw maps, they shattered cultural barriers. Suddenly, Greek travelers, merchants, and scholars had unprecedented access to the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Persia, and Babylon. It was a cultural explosion, a collision of worlds, and these Hellenistic adventurers found themselves utterly captivated by the sheer scale and artistry of the structures they encountered. They were, in a word, awestruck. Now, these early travelers weren't compiling a rigid, definitive list for future generations. No, think of it more like a traveler's journal, or perhaps an early form of Instagram for the ancient world. They were simply jotting down the themata, the sights, things to be seen, things that impressed them beyond measure. It wasn't about a formal competition, but a natural human impulse to document and share extraordinary experiences. Later, that word, themata, would evolve into thaumaata, which more directly translates to wonders. So, at its heart, this list was essentially the ancient world's answer to a travel guidebook, a curated collection of must-see marvels. But here's where it gets interesting, and where our modern understanding often diverges from historical reality. The canonical list we all know today, the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Colossus of Rhodes, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, the Temple of Artemis, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This tidy set of 7 wasn't solidified overnight. In fact, if you were to go back in time and ask various ancient scholars to list the 7 wonders, you'd get a surprising variety of answers. Consider the German classical scholar Wilhelm Heinrich Roscher, who, in 1906, painstakingly compiled 18 known classical lists of wonders, both complete and incomplete. What he found was truly remarkable. Only 2 of these 18 lists were identical, and even then, one was likely a copy of the other. Not a single one of them perfectly matched our modern canonical 7. Think about that for a moment. The very list we hold dear, the one we teach in schools and reference in pop culture, is a relatively modern construct, a distillation of centuries of evolving opinions and fragmented records. These ancient lists collectively contain a staggering 82 names, referencing 22 distinct buildings or places. It's like everyone had their own favorites, their own unique travelogue of architectural brilliance. Some wonders appeared more frequently than others, of course, like the walls of Babylon, the magnificent palace of Cyrus the Great, or the grand Pergamon altar. But the uniformity we associate with the seven wonders simply wasn't there in antiquity. One of the earliest references to such a list comes from Diodorus Siculus, writing in the 2nd to 1st century BC. He didn't give us a full roster, but he specifically mentioned the walls of Babylon and the pyramids. Now, imagine a poet, Antipater of Sidon, living around 100 BC. He gives us a list that's tantalizingly close to our modern one, but with a crucial difference. Let me share his words with you, because they truly capture the spirit of awe these structures inspired. I have gazed on the walls of impregnable Babylon along which chariots may race, and on the Zeus by the banks of the Alpheus. I have seen the hanging gardens and the Colossus of the Helios, the great man-made mountains of the lofty pyramids, and the gigantic tomb of Mausolus. But when I saw the sacred house of Artemis that towers to the clouds, the others were placed in the shade. For the sun himself has never looked upon its equal outside Olympus. A powerful sentiment, isn't it? Here, Antipater substitutes the walls of Babylon for what would later become the lighthouse of Alexandria in our modern list. And notice the sheer veneration he holds for the Temple of Artemis. For him, it eclipsed all others, even the mighty pyramids. This tells us something profound. Personal perspective, cultural bias, and the sheer emotional impact of these structures played a massive role in their inclusion on any given list. Another ancient writer, often identified, though perhaps dubiously, as Philo of Byzantium, penned a short account titled The Seven Sights of the World. His surviving manuscript is incomplete, but from what remains, it seems his list might have mirrored Antipater's. Even earlier, the esteemed historian Herodotus and the poet Callimachus of Cyrene, whose works were housed in the legendary Library of Alexandria, are known to have compiled their own lists. We only know of them through references, their full accounts lost to the sands of time, but their very existence reinforces the idea that compiling such lists was a common intellectual pursuit. So, when did our modern canonical list finally emerge? It wasn't until the year 1572, with the publication of a work titled Octo Mundi Miracula, which means 8 Wonders of the World. This publication, drawing upon various historical sources and interpretations, finally laid down the framework for the 7 wonders we recognize today. It was a retrospective compilation, a scholarly attempt to organize and canonize the most celebrated marvels of the ancient world. And it's important to remember the geographical limitations of this list. It predominantly covered the Mediterranean and Middle Eastern regions, precisely because this was the known world for the Greek and Roman scholars who created and propagated these lists. The primary accounts from Hellenistic writers, with their biases and their focal points, heavily influenced the selection. It's no coincidence that 5 of the 7 entries on the canonical list are celebrations of Greek accomplishments in construction. The exceptions, of course, being the Great Pyramids of Giza, a truly ancient marvel from Egypt, and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, a testament to Mesopotamian ingenuity. There's another sobering thought to consider when we reflect on this list. The Colossus of Rhodes, that immense statue of the sun god Helios, was the last of the 7 to be completed sometime after 280 BC. Yet, it was also the first to be destroyed, brought down by a devastating earthquake in 226 or 225 BC. This means that, incredibly, all 7 of these magnificent wonders existed simultaneously for less than 60 years. For most of the time these lists were being compiled and recounted, at least one of these wonders was already a ruin, a ghost of its former glory. It was an elegy, even then, for a vanishing past. This brings us to a crucial point about the very nature of these wonders. They were not just impressive structures, they were symbols. They were pinnacles of human endeavor, engineering marvels, and artistic triumphs that inspired awe and admiration. Their architectural and artistic features were so groundbreaking, so captivating, that they were imitated throughout the Hellenistic world and far beyond. The influence of Greek design on Roman culture, for instance, is undeniable, and when the Renaissance swept through Europe, rekindling an interest in Greco-Roman artistic styles, these ancient wonders once again captured the imagination. Artists painted them, sculptors drew inspiration from them, and adventurers, driven by a thirst for knowledge and wonder, embarked on perilous journeys to witness the ruins of these legendary sites firsthand. Legends, already swirling around these places for centuries, only grew richer and more elaborate with each retelling, further cementing their status as truly incomparable marvels. But time, as we know, is the ultimate conqueror. Of the canonical seven wonders, only one stands defiantly against the millennia: the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its original brilliant white limestone casing, which must have gleamed like a jewel under the desert sun, remained largely intact until around the 14th century, when local communities, ever practical, repurposed much of that precious stonework for their own building projects. The others have largely vanished. The Temple of Artemis and the statue of Zeus, both breathtaking works of art and architecture, succumbed to the ravages of fire. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, the Colossus of Rhodes, and the mausoleum at Halicarnassus were all brought down by the terrifying forces of earthquakes. We have tantalizing remains, fragments of sculpture from the mausoleum and the Temple of Artemis, carefully preserved in museums today, whispering tales of their past grandeur. And then there are the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The Hanging Gardens. This particular wonder has always been shrouded in a delightful, almost ethereal mystery. To this day, there is scholarly debate, intense discussion, and even outright doubt as to whether they ever truly existed as depicted. Was it a magnificent feat of ancient engineering, a verdant paradise rising from the Mesopotamian plains? Or was it, perhaps, a beautiful legend, a poetic invention that captivated the minds of those who heard its tales? It's a question that continues to fascinate historians and archaeologists, and one we will certainly delve into further as our journey continues. The desire to list the most marvelous human achievements, to quantify and celebrate the pinnacles of our ingenuity, didn't end with the ancient Greeks. The Romans had their own lists. The Middle Ages saw new wonders emerge, and the Renaissance sparked a renewed appreciation for these grand creations. Roman poets like Martial and Christian bishops like Gregory of Tours compiled their own versions, reflecting the changing landscape of power, belief, and architectural prowess. As Christianity spread, and as the original wonders faded or fell, new sites began to appear on these lists: the Colosseum, Noah's Ark, and even Solomon's Temple. Saint Gregory of Tours, in the 6th century, gave us a list that included the Temple of Solomon, the Pharos of Alexandria, our lighthouse, and Noah's Ark, blending historical monuments with biblical narratives. In our modern era, historians, recognizing the inherent geographical limitations of the original Greek-centric list, have expanded the concept. We now speak not just of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, but of the 7 wonders of the world, encompassing marvels from every corner of the globe. This 7 wonders label itself has become a cultural touchstone, spawning countless new lists: wonders of nature, engineering masterpieces, wonders of the medieval world, and so on. Its purpose has evolved too, no longer just a mere travel guide, but a rallying cry for preservation, a testament to what we, as a species, are capable of creating, and a stark reminder of what we stand to lose. So, as we prepare to explore each of these magnificent structures in detail, remember this: the list itself is a journey, a reflection of changing perceptions, cultural biases, and the relentless passage of time. It's a testament to the human desire to categorize, to celebrate, and to be utterly, wonderfully awestruck. And it all began with simple travelers, gazing upon the colossal achievements of ancient civilizations, and simply needing to write down what they saw, what they felt, and what they could only describe as pure wonder. Now, let's turn our attention to the magnificent structures themselves. The very reason we're all here. These aren't just names on a list. They were colossal statements, declarations of power, ingenuity, and devotion. Each wonder, in its own breathtaking way, pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible in classical antiquity. And as we peel back the layers of dust and time, you'll begin to appreciate just how truly extraordinary they were. First, let's anchor ourselves with the one that still stands defiant against the millennia, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's the oldest, the largest, and the sole survivor. Imagine a structure so immense, so perfectly engineered, that it has weathered thousands of years, outliving empires and collapsing civilizations, and remains today a testament to a people who understood celestial mechanics and monumental architecture with an almost alien precision. For over 3,000 years, it was the tallest man-made structure on Earth. Think about that. For 3,000 years, nothing else came close. Its sheer scale is difficult to grasp, even with modern photographs. We're talking about approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, meticulously cut and placed with such accuracy that the joints are barely visible. And it was all built without iron tools, without wheeled vehicles as we understand them, and without any of the heavy machinery we take for granted today. Its purpose, of course, was as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu, a grand statement of his divinity and an elaborate vessel for his journey to the afterlife. But its design, the precise alignment with true north, the internal passages, the sheer effort involved, it still baffles and inspires awe. It wasn't just a tomb. It was a cosmic clock, a mathematical marvel, and a permanent mountain of human will. Then we move, chronologically and geographically, to something far more ethereal, something that some scholars still debate whether it even truly existed: the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Unlike the stark, undeniable reality of the pyramids, the gardens exist largely in myth and legend, a breathtaking vision of terraced greenery rising above the arid plains of ancient Mesopotamia. If they did exist, and many ancient accounts certainly attest to them, they would have been a vibrant, cascading oasis of exotic plants and trees, built by King Nebuchadnezzar II for his homesick wife, Amytis. She missed the lush, mountainous landscapes of her homeland, and he, in a grand gesture of love and power, supposedly recreated it for her. Imagine an elaborate system of irrigation, drawing water from the Euphrates River, lifting it hundreds of feet to sustain this artificial mountain of flora. This wasn't just a garden. It was an engineering marvel, a testament to hydraulic innovation in a time when such feats were unheard of. But the lingering mystery, the lack of definitive archaeological proof, only adds to their allure, making them perhaps the most romantic and enigmatic of all the wonders. Did they truly exist, or were they merely a beautiful dream, whispered across generations? The jury, even today, remains out. Next, we journey to the city of Olympia, in what is now Greece, home to the magnificent statue of Zeus. This wasn't just a statue, it was the very embodiment of the king of the gods, crafted by the legendary sculptor Phidias in the 5th century BC. Imagine sitting in the Temple of Zeus, looking up at this gargantuan figure, some 40 feet tall, depicting Zeus seated on an elaborate throne. His skin was fashioned from ivory, his beard and hair from gold, and his robes from gilded bronze, encrusted with precious stones. This wasn't just a religious artifact. It was an artistic masterpiece that inspired reverence and fear. The sheer scale and opulence were designed to overwhelm, to impress upon every spectator the absolute power and majesty of Zeus. Pilgrims would travel from across the ancient world to witness this awe-inspiring sight, to offer prayers and marvel at the craftsmanship. To stand before it would have been an almost transcendental experience, a direct communion with the divine, or at least the most tangible representation of it. It was a focal point of ancient Greek religious life, a monument to their highest deity and a reflection of their artistic zenith. From the quiet dignity of Olympia, we travel to the bustling city of Ephesus in modern-day Turkey and the glorious Temple of Artemis. This wasn't merely a place of worship. It was a grand sanctuary, rebuilt multiple times after various destructions, each iteration more magnificent than the last. The version we consider a wonder was an Ionic temple, constructed around 550 BC, and famously rebuilt after being burned down by Herostratus, who sought immortality through infamy. The Temple of Artemis was not just large. It was immense, far exceeding the scale of other temples of its era. It boasted over 100 towering marble columns, each intricately carved and reaching heights of 60 feet. Imagine the blinding white marble, gleaming under the Mediterranean sun, adorned with sculptures and reliefs created by the finest artists of the age. It was a beacon of art, architecture, and religious devotion, a testament to the wealth and piety of the Ephesians. It was a center of commerce, a safe haven for pilgrims, and a monument that truly towered to the clouds, as Antipater of Sidon so eloquently put it. It was a place of unparalleled beauty, a jewel in the crown of the ancient world. Our next stop takes us to Halicarnassus, also in modern-day Turkey, home to the mausoleum. Now, the very word mausoleum derives from this structure, and for good reason. This was no ordinary tomb. It was an opulent, multi-story monument built for Mausolus, a satrap in the Persian Empire, by his grief-stricken wife and sister, Artemisia II. Constructed in the 4th century BC, it blended Greek, Lycian, and Egyptian architectural styles, creating something utterly unique. Imagine a grand base, adorned with exquisite sculptures depicting battle scenes, surmounted by a colonnaded temple-like structure, and capped with a pyramid-shaped roof, crowned by a massive statue of Mausolus and Artemisia in a chariot. It was designed to be not just a resting place for the dead, but a permanent celebration of a powerful ruler, a towering testament to his legacy and his wife's enduring love. The artistic collaboration on this monument was extraordinary, bringing together some of the most celebrated sculptors of the time. It was a fusion of grandeur and artistry, a poignant reminder that even in death, the powerful sought to leave an indelible mark on the world. Its sheer scale and artistic brilliance ensured its place among the wonders. From the solemnity of the mausoleum, we travel to the vibrant island of Rhodes in the Aegean Sea and behold the mighty Colossus. This was a colossal bronze statue of the sun god Helios, standing guard over the harbor of Rhodes. Erected between 292 and 280 BC, it commemorated Rhodes' victory over Demetrius Poliorcete's siege. Imagine a bronze giant standing over 100 feet tall, its polished surface glinting in the sun, a beacon for sailors and a powerful symbol of Rhodanian independence and pride. While popular imagination often depicts the Colossus straddling the harbor entrance, with ships sailing between its legs, historical accounts suggest it likely stood on a massive pedestal on one side, perhaps near the entrance, a magnificent figure with a torch held aloft. Its construction was a monumental feat of ancient engineering, requiring vast amounts of bronze and iron, and an understanding of structural integrity that was truly advanced for its time. It was a symbol of defiance, of victory, and of the island's dedication to its patron god. It existed for a mere 54 years before an earthquake toppled it, but its legend lived on, inspiring poets and artists for centuries. Its broken remains lay on the ground for nearly 800 years, still a marvel even in ruin, before they were eventually sold for scrap. Finally, we arrive at the majestic lighthouse of Alexandria, off the coast of Egypt. This wasn't just a navigational aid. It was a marvel of engineering and a symbol of Ptolemaic power and intellectual advancement. Built by Sostratus of Cnidus around the 3rd century BC, it was for centuries one of the tallest man-made structures in the world, estimated to be between 330 and 450 feet high. Imagine a towering, multi-tiered structure of white marble, rising from the Pharos Island at the mouth of Alexandria's harbor. At its summit, a massive fire was kept perpetually burning, amplified by a complex system of mirrors, casting its light for miles across the Mediterranean. This wasn't just a functional lighthouse. It was a grand architectural statement, a testament to Hellenistic ingenuity, and a guiding star for all who sailed to the burgeoning intellectual and commercial hub of Alexandria. It was a beacon of progress, of trade, and of human endeavor, illuminating the path for countless mariners and standing as a testament to the ambition of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Its destruction, like so many of the others, came from the relentless earth, but its impact on maritime navigation and architectural design resonated for centuries. So there you have them, the canonical Seven Wonders. From the enduring majesty of the Great Pyramid to the whispered beauty of the Hanging Gardens, from the divine presence of Zeus to the artistic splendor of Artemis, the personal devotion of the mausoleum, the defiant pride of the Colossus, and the guiding light of Alexandria. Each one, in its own unique way, transcended mere construction to become something more, a symbol, a legend, a testament to the heights of human ambition and artistry in the ancient world. And as we've seen, they were built not just for utility, but for awe, for glory, and to etch their creators' names into the very fabric of history. Now, we've spoken about the birth of these magnificent lists, these ancient travel guides designed to inspire awe and curiosity. We've delved into the minds of the people who compiled them, trying to imagine what moved them so profoundly. But what about the wonders themselves? What became of these colossal achievements of human ingenuity, these dazzling testaments to power, faith, and artistic ambition? The sad truth, as many of you might already know, is that of the original canonical seven, only one stands today, defying the relentless march of time, weathering millennia of wind and sand and human conflict. That lone survivor, a silent sentinel, is of course the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is a stark, almost humbling reminder that even the most monumental human endeavors are ultimately fragile, susceptible to the whims of nature and the inevitable cycles of destruction and decay. Consider the Colossus of Rhodes, that breathtaking bronze giant said to have straddled the harbor entrance, its torch guiding ships home. A beacon of human aspiration, a symbol of newfound freedom and prosperity. It took 12 years to construct, a feat of engineering that would challenge even our modern capabilities. Yet, its reign was tragically short-lived. Barely 60 years after its completion, a catastrophic earthquake, a common and devastating force in the ancient Mediterranean, brought the Colossus crashing down. Imagine the terror, the thunderous roar as that immense figure fractured and fell. For centuries, its colossal ruins lay scattered, a haunting testament to its former glory. Later, we know, these remnants were sold for scrap, melted down, and transported away, leaving behind only the ghost of a legend. Then there's the Lighthouse of Alexandria, another marvel of engineering and perhaps the most practical of the wonders. Towering hundreds of feet into the Egyptian sky, its light visible for miles, it was a vital navigational aid, guiding countless ships safely into one of the ancient world's busiest ports. For over a millennium, it stood as a symbol of Egyptian power and Hellenistic ingenuity. But, like the Colossus, it eventually succumbed to the Earth's tremors. A series of earthquakes occurring between the 10th and 14th centuries progressively damaged and ultimately toppled this magnificent structure. Its stones, like so many others, were later repurposed, assimilated into new fortifications, or simply lost to the sea. Today, archaeological dives have revealed tantalizing fragments of its immense structure beneath the waves, offering glimpses into its monumental scale. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus, a lavish tomb built for Mausolus, a satrap in the Persian Empire, and later his sister wife Artemisia. It wasn't just a tomb. It was a sprawling artistic masterpiece, adorned with intricate sculptures by some of the most renowned Greek artists of the age. It inspired the very word mausoleum itself. For over 16 centuries, it stood as a monument to love, power, and artistic brilliance. But even this grand edifice couldn't escape the destructive forces of nature and human conflict. A series of earthquakes from the 12th to the 15th centuries gradually dismantled it. Its beautifully carved stones were eventually reused by the Knights of St. John for their Crusader castle in Bodrum, literally absorbing the past into the present. What remains today are scattered fragments, many housed in the British Museum, silent witnesses to a once vibrant, monumental structure. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, dedicated to the Greek goddess of the hunt, wilderness, and childbirth, was rebuilt multiple times, each iteration grander than the last. It was a sanctuary of immense beauty and spiritual significance, covered in marble and adorned with exquisite artwork. It was a place of pilgrimage, a center of worship that drew people from across the ancient world. Its destruction was not by earthquake, but by fire, and not just any fire. It was intentionally torched by an individual seeking infamy, Herostratus, who set it ablaze in 356 BC. This act of sacrilege and wanton destruction sent shockwaves through the ancient world. The temple was rebuilt, even more splendidly, only to be destroyed again, this time by invading Goths in 262 AD. Finally, its remnants were dismantled as Christianity rose, and its stones, like so many others, were carried away for new constructions. Today, only a single column stands, a lonely sentinel amidst marshy ground, marking the spot where such magnificence once soared. The statue of Zeus at Olympia, another masterpiece of Greek artistry, crafted by the legendary sculptor Phidias. This colossal chryselephantine statue, made of ivory and gold, depicted Zeus enthroned, radiating an aura of divine power and majesty. It was housed within a temple dedicated to the king of the gods, a focal point of the Olympic Games. This was not merely a statue. It was an embodiment of the divine, intended to inspire reverence and awe. Its demise is less clear-cut than some of the others. It likely met its end by fire, possibly in the 5th century AD, perhaps after being moved to Constantinople. Imagine the flickering flames, devouring the precious ivory and melting the gold, transforming a symbol of eternity into ash. No physical trace remains, only the echoing descriptions in ancient texts, stirring our imaginations. And then, we arrive at perhaps the most enigmatic of all the wonders, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Unlike the others, whose existence is confirmed by archaeological evidence, historical accounts, and tangible remnants, the Hanging Gardens remain shrouded in mystery. Were they real, a cascading paradise built by King Nebuchadnezzar II for his homesick wife, a verdant oasis in the Mesopotamian desert? Or were they merely a poetic fantasy, a whispered legend that grew with each retelling? Ancient texts describe terrace gardens, rising in steps, watered by ingenious irrigation systems, bursting with exotic flora and fauna. Scholars have debated their existence for centuries. Some suggest they were a confusion with gardens in Nineveh, while others tirelessly search for archaeological evidence in Babylon itself. The truth remains elusive, a tantalizing puzzle. And in a way, this enduring mystery only adds to their allure, making them, perhaps, the most wondrous of all, precisely because they hover on the edge of myth and reality. So, here we stand, contemplating the ruins and the whispers of these fallen giants. We're left with a poignant understanding that even the most ambitious human creations are temporary. They rise, they dazzle, they inspire, and then, inevitably, they fall, leaving behind fragments of their former selves embedded in the earth, in our stories, and in our collective memory. It's a powerful lesson, isn't it? That even as we strive to build things that last forever, the truest wonders are often in the striving itself, in the ambition, the ingenuity, and the sheer audacity of the human spirit to create something so grand it transcends its own mortality, even if only in legend. In our next segment, we'll turn our attention to the one survivor, the Colossus that defies time itself, the Great Pyramid of Giza. What made it different? What allowed it to stand while its magnificent counterparts crumbled into dust? And what secrets does it still hold, thousands of years after its completion? Stay with us as we continue our journey through the wonders of the ancient world. And so, we arrive at the great anomaly, the quiet giant, almost indifferent to the passage of millennia, that stands sentinel over the sands of time while its magnificent siblings have crumbled into dust and legend. We speak, of course, of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Think for a moment about this profound, almost unbelievable reality. Of the 7 iconic structures that once graced the ancient world, only one remains, a testament not just to human ingenuity, but to a peculiar combination of factors that allowed it to defy the relentless forces of nature, the ravages of war, and the fickle hand of human intention. When we consider the other wonders, their fates are often tied to seismic activity, devastating fires, or the sheer political will to dismantle and reuse their monumental stones. The Colossus of Rhodes, a bronze titan straddling a harbor entrance, was brought low by an earthquake. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, a marvel of engineering, met a similar fate, slowly eroded and ultimately toppled by tremors over centuries. The Temple of Artemis, a dazzling jewel of marble and gold, was repeatedly destroyed by fire, most famously by a man seeking infamy. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus, a tomb so grand it gave us a word for monumental burial, suffered its own share of earthquakes and was eventually dismantled for its building materials. And the Hanging Gardens of Babylon? Well, their very existence remains a whisper in the wind, a beautiful myth that perhaps never quite solidified into stone and soil. But the Great Pyramid? It just stands. Now, why is that? Why did this one structure, the oldest of them all, dating back to a time so far removed from the others that it almost feels like a different epoch entirely, managed to endure? It wasn't built with the intricate archways of later Roman engineering, nor the delicate marble carvings of Greek temples. It was in essence a colossal pile of precisely cut stone, and therein lies a significant part of its secret. Consider its design. A pyramid is, by its very nature, an incredibly stable structure. Its broad base tapering to a point distributes its immense weight incredibly efficiently. There are no delicate columns to snap, no intricate roof structures to collapse under their own weight or the stress of an earthquake. It is a solid mass, built to withstand the pressures of gravity and time. The sheer volume of material, the colossal blocks of limestone and granite, locked together with such masterful precision that, even without mortar in many places, they have held firm for nearly 4.5 millennia. The ancient Egyptians were not just master builders, they were master strategists, whether they knew it or not, in the art of enduring construction. The climate of Giza certainly played its part. Unlike the often volatile seismic zones of the Mediterranean, Egypt enjoys a relatively stable geological environment. The dry desert air, while harsh, is also a preserver, preventing the kind of moisture-induced decay that would plague structures in more humid climes. But perhaps the most crucial factor was not just how it was built or where, but why. The pyramids were not just monuments. They were portals to the afterlife for the pharaohs, sacred mountains of stone designed to protect their immortal essence. This profound religious and cultural significance imbued them with a sanctity that, for a very long time, deterred widespread, deliberate destruction. Even when later civilizations rose and fell in Egypt, the pyramids remained largely untouched, treated with a reverence that, if not always understood, was at least respected. Of course, they weren't entirely immune to human intervention. For centuries, the dazzling, polished white limestone casing that once covered the entire pyramid, reflecting the sun like a jewel, was systematically stripped away. This wasn't the work of invaders seeking to obliterate a cultural symbol, but rather the more prosaic, yet equally destructive, act of local communities reusing the readily available, high-quality stone for their own building projects. The famous Cairo Citadel, for instance, is said to have been constructed, in part, from the pyramid's outer skin. This act, while diminishing its original brilliant appearance, paradoxically saved the inner core, leaving the rough, stepped profile we see today. The core structure, so massive and so well interlocked, proved too much effort to dismantle entirely. It is a humbling thought, isn't it, that a structure built thousands of years before the concept of wonders was even conceived by the Greeks simply outlasted all the others. It was not the most ornate, perhaps not even the most technologically complex in terms of its internal mechanisms, like the lighthouse of Alexandria's intricate light system, but it was built with a fundamental understanding of mass, stability, and purpose that transcended the fleeting whims of fashion and the inevitable erosions of time. So, as you drift off to sleep, or perhaps as you tackle your next task, let the image of the Great Pyramid of Giza settle in your mind. A silent sentinel, an unbroken link to a world so ancient it feels almost mythical, standing defiant against the backdrop of an ever-changing world. It is a reminder that sometimes the simplest, most fundamental principles of construction, driven by profound belief, can achieve the most astonishing and enduring results. It is the wonder that simply refused to be forgotten, not by grand design, but by sheer, unyielding presence. It is the ultimate testament to the builders of ancient Egypt, who, through their colossal efforts, inadvertently gave us the only true immortal among the seven wonders. And so, our journey through the seven wonders of the ancient world comes to a close. We've walked among giants, pondered vanished marvels, and glimpsed the ambitions of civilizations long past. It's a testament to the human spirit's enduring quest for creation, for beauty, and for leaving an indelible mark on the earth. I hope this narration has offered you a moment of peace, of focus, or perhaps even a doorway into a deeper understanding of our shared past. If you enjoyed this exploration, please consider liking this video, sharing it with a fellow history enthusiast, and of course, subscribing for more deep dives into the forgotten corners of history. What were your favorite insights tonight? And what other ancient mysteries would you like Vibing History to unravel next? Until our next journey, take care.